Hey folks, Sifu here. Just after finishing training, and myself and Gavin were talking about a particular subject, repetition. So repetition of technique, repetition of conditioning, repetition of breaking, whatever happens to be, the more you do, obviously the better you're going to get at it. Again, with business too, the more times you do a particular thing in business, the better you become at it, the more proficient you become at it. But in terms of martial arts for the moment, especially we're going to pick the block breaking for a moment, something that you all know that I do a lot of. If we just pick the knife hand break, the chop break, the more times I do that break, the better I become at it. It's obvious, it's repetition. I've learned what it takes, how much pressure it takes, how fast I should hit, so repetition has built that. Then we move on to a side kick break. Again, the more times I throw a side kick break, but I don't like to just throw a side kick break. I like to step up to it, step past it, step beyond it, and try and throw that side kick as proficiently as possible from all ranges. But again, it's all down to repetition. I'm not just going to do it once or twice. My master always talked about repetition, and he said repetition of any technique is going to make you good. Now, obviously, repetition of correct form and correct technique. Let's clarify that part first. But he did comment about the whole Bruce Lee thing of, don't fear the man who knows, 10,000 techniques. Fear the man who's practiced one technique 10,000 times. He said that does apply to a certain extent. He said because if we take into context and we take it literally, that you've practiced one, we pick a side kick. You practice that 10,000 times, but you haven't really practiced anything else majorly well. It's because you favour the side kick. What happens if your side kick is enabled? So you're at the hurting your leg. You're on the wrong side. Your opponent attacks you from the opposite side. So you need to have a counter for that one technique that you can't get off. So he always said it's better to practice as many techniques as you can. Obviously, correct technique and correct structure of the technique. But that's why I condition so much. And that's where the conversation with Gavin went tonight. So it's about our conditioning regime, and how we condition at least 6 days a week. Most weeks we're together 7 days. But if we can't get together, I still make sure I get my condition. Sorry, you can actually see the condition there tonight. I can guarantee that 7 days a week I'll get my conditioning done. And Sharon can testify to the fact that if I don't get my conditioning done, I can be a complete grumpy person. I wasn't going to use foul language, but I'll reserve that. But again, repetition. So whatever your martial arts, the more you repeat it, and that I think it goes back to a video I've done previously about, how don't just train in your gym or your dojo or your school, whatever it happens to be. Train at home too. Do daily practice. The more you practice, the better you become. The quicker you get better at said technique. So I think that's where my warrior tip for today is. My Warrior Wednesday tip. Repetition helps build the speed and the power. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense to some of you guys. Thank you very much. See you next week.